Hey there, Randy Schwantz here. We're going to get into hiring and what you're looking for in a candidate. And there's really three critical things here we're going to talk about. Number one, as you look at this candidate, number one is can do. And that's really, do they have the skills to do the job? And in most cases, the answer is going to be no, they don't. They don't have the skills. We'll talk about more of that in a moment. Number two is going to be will do. And this is really about personality. Do they have the personality characteristics that is going to cause them to do the job? And that's where the GPI, the Grit Personality Inventory, comes in, and we're going to get into that. And the third thing is follow through. And that's really work ethic. And so these are the three things that, as you start thinking about what do I need in a candidate, I really need all three. And so sometimes you might be thinking, well, which is most important? Well, the most important one is the one that's missing, because that's the one that's going to trip you up and cause you problems. So let's talk about these here for a second. Let's just get into the whole can do thing. Can do, let's think about that for a moment. If we were hiring a carpenter, in fact, I brought my little nine, my big old hammer here. If we're hiring a carpenter, what would we want a carpenter to be able to can do? Well, number one, can they drive a 16 penny nail? Can they use a saw and cut the 2x4s? Can they frame up a wall? Can they frame something where they can put in a window or a door? Can they come back and cut the angles to do the trim? And there's a lot more, but that is can do. That's what you would expect from a carpenter. And seldom would you hire a high school kid and expect him to be able to frame a wall, build a house, and that sort of stuff. They don't have the skills. So now when we come back and you start looking at what are the skills, let's just put this up here again, skills necessary to be a producer. Well, certainly if you follow just our basic premise, producers got to prospect, got to sell, and then got to retain. And either they have those skills or they don't. And in many cases, they don't, which is fine. It's fine if you've got the ability to go train them. It's terrible if you don't have the ability to train them, because that would be the reason that they'd probably want to quit, get out, leave, feel unsuccessful, all that sort of stuff. And so that's why when we talk about you and your job, you got three jobs. You got to train, you got to coach, and you got to develop, because many times they don't have the skills to do these things effectively. So hopefully that makes sense. Let's move to the next piece. Next piece we're going to call will do. And so kind of when you look at it on a continuum, over here would be a plow horse, and over here would be a racehorse. A racehorse wants to get out of the blocks. The racehorse is very goal-driven. They want to make things happen. A plow horse is very compliance-driven. They'll sit there, they'll hibernate, they'll just kind of do the things, and when you finally get them all hooked up to the plow and you keep doing this on the reins, then you'll get them to go. So part of the thing that you're looking for is will do, because selling, particularly when you think about prospecting and selling, is a very lonely business. It takes a lot of goal orientation, a lot of drive, a lot of independence, a lot of assertiveness, a lot of what kind of makes up enough ego power, ego drive to go make this thing happen. And so that's why the GPI, which we'll go into in depth, the Grit Personality Inventory and all the different things associated with that are so important. And you need to learn that over time, because each one of those personality characteristics has an implication to it, has both a positive or a negative consequence. And so that is your will do. That's where you're thinking about, do I want to hire a bunch of plow horses? And here's the problem with plow horses. You will, whether you like it or not, you have to serve your producers. In some way, shape, form, or fashion, you're going to serve your producers. Well, this person over here, this person you're going to have to serve with the boot. You're always going to be trying to motivate them, get them out, get them prospecting, all this sort of stuff. This person over here, you're going to serve by teaching them how to prospect and sell better, and really develop them into, what I think of as $1 million producer. Somebody's got a big book of business. And so it's so important for you to become a student of these things, to know what they are, to be able to look for them, to challenge this stuff before you make the hire. As you might imagine, I mean, I talk to a dozen new agency owners every month looking for a solution to their problem of growing their agency. And the biggest and the number one most horrific problem they have is that they've got a house full of these guys. Plow horses who write small accounts, wait to be fed. So now, as agency principal, when we talk about having to serve somebody, they're having to feed these guys somehow while also having to feed the carriers. And so as agency principal, you just get worn out. So the plow horses are just tough to deal with, not because they're bad people, but because they are content. They have very little reason or purpose to go prospect. It doesn't charge them up. It doesn't make them feel good about themselves. To close a piece of business is just, like everybody, I mean, it's nice. And the problem with all the small accounts is that when they go close a $3,000 premium account, it brings in $450 of revenue to the firm. They get their third, they made $150. It's just like, so it's just adding people on. And that's the problem with a house full of plow horses. Let's get to the third piece. Third piece is really work ethic. We're going to call it follow through here, work ethic. And this is something that you have to interview for. Because there is no test to tell you if they have work ethic. And so there's a direct correlation to people that, as they were kids growing up, if they worked on the farm, they worked at their dad or their mom's business, they worked at the golf course, they were a caddy, they were a groom, whatever, a greens person, or they're deeply involved in athletics. So somehow, people who worked really hard as kids, there's a direct correlation to they'll work hard as adults. And so in your interview process, it's important to start to dig into, well, tell me what it was like growing up. What did you do? How did you spend your time? Did you have a job? How'd you get your money? Did you make money? Where'd you work? What'd you do? What kind of athlete stuff? What kind of sports were you involved in? What was that like for you? How often did you practice? How often did you go to games? But by the way, how'd you perform in doing all that sort of stuff? What was your thing, man? And so you're getting all that stuff out really helps you start to cover the three bases. So once again, what are they? Number one is can do. That is skills. Will do. That is personality. And then follow through, and that is work ethic. It's just another word on this whole work ethic. Another way you could say it would be impulse control. A lot of these people over here that have a strong intensity and drive, which we look for, also get bored easily. If they're not achieving, making goals happen, then many times this, the ability to control the impulse is hard. A lot of these guys, we could say, have ADD, ADHD, you call it whatever you want to. Their mind is always spinning, doing things. And so to keep them focused can be a challenge. And so almost all good things come with a problem. Good hammer, but it also can kill somebody. Porsche 911, fast car. But man, if you have a wreck, it could be horrific. You hire somebody with the big personality. They gotta get their hit. They gotta go make things happen. That's who they are. And so they can also be a little bit disruptive. So there is no perfect. Everything comes with a bit of a hitch. So with that said, as kind of an introduction, let's take a moment here and we'll just go deeper. Hey, growth should not be so hard, should it? So if you have any questions about this topic at all, please just comment below and I'll get to it and I'll answer as quickly as possible. And if you've enjoyed this video, please just like it, share it, and go ahead and subscribe to this channel. And if you're one of those agency principals, you want to move this thing to the next level fast, I've created a 54-minute video. It's a presentation specifically for agency owners and principals that want to take this thing to a new level. So please take a moment, jump down there and enjoy that 54-minute webinar.